HHDG. Peace, HHDG. We're on another episode of HHDG Media podcast. Big shout out to everyone. Always, we definitely appreciate it for y'all tuning in through our YouTube channel as well as our Facebook group, HHDG. As always, this is made possible through our company, which consists of our 5 owners: Skelly Top, Rock Vader KB, T Smith, Demare, and myself, Wiki. You can always go to our website, which you can see on the bottom banner, hhdgmedia.com, for latest music, previous interviews, written interviews, as well as our merch and upcoming events. Before we begin to speak on our upcoming guests, I just want to give a big condolences to the whole family of DJ Clark Kent, who it was announced earlier today that he had passed. I came up on his music, mixtapes, and even though I'm not the biggest of sneakers, I paid attention to how big he was in the whole sneaker culture. If you just went on his IG page, everything is right there. All types of exclusives he was getting as well. He's definitely recognized for that in the culture. So he was getting blessed as well. And his skills and what he put forth for this hip hop culture throughout the decades was definitely going to be remembered. And again, my condolences to DJ Clark Kent and his entire family and all his friends that, have been posting and giving their personal, accounts and everything that, is meant to be dear. So again, recognize his talents and what he's done for the culture as well as the sneaker culture. For tonight, we have a dope MC who I like to refer to him as the Smooth Peruvian, because his delivery, no matter what the content is, it always comes out so eloquent. And it could be the grittiest of content that he's talking about, cinematic, it could be braggadocious, it could be talking about the women, it could be talking about life. No matter how he delivers, how he speaks on it, it always comes out, just smooth. And not so many people are capable of doing that, no matter the content, no matter the flow, the tempo. And he murders that every time. It's dope how it comes out. And being that this is his first time on HHDG Media, we definitely going to talk a little bit about his past as well as his new album, which is titled 14 Karat Gold Slum Computer Wizard, which originally dropped on September 20th, directly through the artist, which is one of the best ways to do it. And there's also the vinyl pre-orders that you can get directly from him. And then just this month on the 14th, it was available on all DSPs. Now, with this new album, definitely continues to show his diversity, as well as bringing in some Broken Home members like Spit Gems, A1, and we also have some other dope MCs on there. GS Advance, Homeboy Sandman, Edom Mad Assassin. There's a lot more on there. And he's definitely another one of the few that I can say when it comes to selecting producers in their production, he gets the right beats to cater to his style. On this one, once again, GS Advance handles some production duties. Wavy the God, another dope producer. Nohokai, if you're not familiar with him, definitely go check him out because engineering work is on point as well. Rob Victim, Brown Bag All Star member J57, and more that we're definitely gonna tap into. So I'd like to introduce repping Queens, Eff Yoo.
What's
Peace,
going
peace.
on?
How you doing?
Good to be here. I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Appreciate you, taking the time. I know we've been back and forth trying to work out something for quite some time to get you on here.
Yeah, this a long time in the making, man.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Man, again, not just your delivery is smooth, but when I see you in person, you the same way. You got a nice calm demeanor to you.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that intro, man. It means a lot, especially coming from people who I feel know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? And really delve deep into this hip hop shit. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Man, trying to remember when that was. When you had the vinyl release for respectfully. When, I'm trying to remember around what time that was. It wasn't an entire year. It was like early this year.
No, man.
It
Actually,
was last year.
it was last year. We released respectfully FU August of last year. So yeah, that had to be around late August probably last year
Okay.
that I saw. Yeah, it time flies, man.
Yeah.
Luckily I was able to work that record for a long time. It had a
Mhm.
long shelf life, which is a little rare nowadays. You know what I mean? Like the attention span of people is shorter, including my own. I mean, everybody just wants to hear the next thing, the next thing. That we've been conditioned to like back in the days. Somebody would drop an album and they wouldn't drop another album for 2 years, 3 years, and now it seems like you got to put out 6 or 7 projects a year to stay relevant. Uh,
Mhm.
I try not to do that. It's somewhat by design and somewhat just because life gets in the way. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, I rap because I want to. You know what I mean? I rap for me because I got to get these words out. You know what I mean? Or because I'm inspired. Um, it's not because I'm chasing anything. I'm not chasing any type of notoriety or fame or money or any of that. You know what I mean? Like, rap is not where I make the majority of my money. Rap is where I have fun. You know what I mean?
I got you on that. Definitely, definitely. One of the shining moments for a person multi-talented like yourself is to be able to do that. And yeah, it was. I just looked it up real quick. The vinyl release party was December of last year.
Was it December? No, it couldn't have been that. Was that cold?
Yeah.
Wow, man. I guess yeah. I
The,
guess it was. I guess it
the
was.
reason, yeah, the reason I was thinking is because I was like, I remember wearing. I might have been wearing this sweater or one similar to, but I do remember bringing a sweater with me that night.
Yeah, yeah. You're right. I'm thinking because we had I had done a show where I shot the video for Don Francisco, um, at the same spot, Beer Wax.
Ah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
And
Yep.
I had done that during the summer, so I was thinking about that one. But yeah, the vinyl release party was actually in December when we got the vinyl. You know what I mean? Nowadays it's taking so long to get vinyl. Even the 14 karat, uh, I ordered the vinyl about a month and a half ago, before like when the album first dropped.
Hmm.
I'm still waiting for them to come in, so they're still on pre-order, but they're almost completely sold out. I think I have 10 copies coming in left to sell. You know what I mean?
All right. Dope, dope. I definitely I gotta tap in with you again with that because I remember you telling me about it. I gotta
I
get back
appreciate
to you on that. Um, when it comes to your music and as with that the release party, you seen I came there with a few physicals. That's
right.
that's me showing my appreciation, and I'll continue to do that as long as I can.
I
But
appreciate.
tell us the significance of dropping a project and then also having the physicals.
To me, I grew up in an era where those things were like going to Sam Goody or Tower Records or your local record store and getting a physical piece, opening it up, and whether it was CD or tape or vinyl, and seeing the liner notes, and sometimes people would have kind of backstage pictures or behind the scenes pictures or stories or whatever. That shit was special to me, you know what I mean, and special to everybody that I grew up with. So I want to hold on to that, you know what I mean, for as long as I can. The medium of CD right now, compact disc, has kind of gone away. There's not a high demand of it. I got a few people who asked, so how come you didn't make CDs for Respectfully and for 14 Karat? And it's just not, they're just not selling like they used to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I want to have something for the people. I don't want to just release digital, you know what I mean? I'll always have something to hand people, you know what I mean? And that they can open up and they can appreciate. And that's why I put so much care into the actual vinyl or the record or the CD, you know what I mean? I want you to be able to open it up and either read the thank yous or read a story or read the liner notes or see, you know, like with the Rikers Island Boxing School record that me and James put out, we put, you know, a collage of behind the scene pictures of us, you know what I mean, when you open up the CD, as well as the thank yous, you know what I mean? So I always want to have something like that that's dope, that people want to own.
I agree. We cherish the memories, and throughout history, when it comes to music, when a person has that physical, they always remember that certain moment in their life of when they bought it or when they first heard it.
Right. And I'm a collector, man. I'm a collector of things. You know what I mean? I'm a comic collector. I'm a record collector. You know, it's not just nostalgia, but you know, it's just being able to hold on to something that means something to you.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yep. And you know, music is not only just for the soul, but I think it helps to retain memories as you get older. Because I think, if I remember correctly, music therapy is something that they do with the elderly, and that helps them to continuously retain their memory.
Right. Yeah, definitely. They'll play, you know, records. They'll play Alzheimer's patients records from their youth, and they'll all of a sudden start remembering things from them that they had forgotten. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really take it and I really think of it as an art form. And when I say art, I mean art. You know what I mean? Pouring your soul into something. Whether it be dumb, I say a lot of dumb shit in my raps, man, and it's not because I'm purposely being dumb. There's a reason for it. I'm trying to have fun. You know what I mean? On a particular record, so I'm just trying to be funny and say dumb shit. You know, if I'm on a record talking hard shit, it's not that I'm trying to portray myself as some kind of super gangster, but I'm trying to tell a tale of things that really happen. You know what I mean? So there's always a purpose for it.
Agreed on that. Yep. What's one of, being that you're a collector, not just of music, like you said, but what was one of the first things that you remember looking back on and you started actually collecting the same thing?
I mean, probably the earliest things would have to be like baseball cards. You know what I mean? Was something that was kind of thrust upon me. I was born in Peru, and I came to this country when I was 5, and it was just something that all the kids my age and older did. You know, they all collected baseball cards and shit. And so, you know, I didn't know about baseball. I was 5 years old coming from Peru. You know what I mean? It didn't mean anything to me, but everyone was doing it, and it seemed cool and shit. And I got into it. I've definitely fell off of that when I started picking up like comic books and comic book cards and shit. That kind of took over. Like, baseball was like baseball card collecting. I was over that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like the first thing I remember collecting and wanting to have more of and wanting to have exclusives of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's dope. Yeah, I think for me it was definitely sports cards first, football and baseball, and then a little bit of the basketball.
Yeah, I think as a young man, more so in the times, I guess, that we grew up in the 90s, it was prevalent. It was the first thing you got into, you know what I mean?
Yep. Mm-hmm. So what comics were you collecting back then? And I noticed sometimes on your IG you get some older comics now that probably rekindling, from your childhood as well.
I mean, when I first got into comic books, it was an easy thing to get into because you could be a young man and literally take whatever money you got from wherever you got it from, like literally collecting cans and fucking recycling them, or you know what I mean. You got $5 from your grandmother, on your
Mm-hmm.
birthday or something, and you can buy a couple comics. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It wasn't. I mean, there was very expensive comics, but it wasn't like it is today. You know what I mean? Um, so I still have a lot from my childhood, but I didn't have the old classics. Like I didn't have the old Batmans and the old Wolverines that even when I was a kid was like $200, which is not much, but
Yeah.
to me at fucking 13, it wasn't getting it.
Yeah.
And the few that I did have was like just stolen, just straight up walk into the store and fucking put it in my book bag and walk out and shit. But I was definitely a Marvel head early on. Again, I think it's because of the age that I came up with. The 90s Marvel was like running shit. You know what I mean? X-Men and Wolverine and Daredevil, Deadpool came out. It was like DC wasn't really holding it. DC was holding on to the older heads. You know what I mean? The kids my
Yeah.
age were all into Marvel and shit. So then later on, I started getting more into like DC stuff.
Yeah. And
I just got something in the mail today. Hold on.
okay. Oh, I remember those.
Yeah, this is the best-selling comic book of all time. X-Men #1. It's an 8.0, which don't mean shit to collectors, but it means shit to me because I got Jim Lee to sign it.
See?
So
Oh man.
all of my CGC grades and signatures I got of my favorite artists, Stan Lee, Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee. I was able to get myself. So that's why I get them CGC. I get them encased. I'm keeping those. I don't plan on selling them. So I don't care if it's an 8.0, 2.5, 9.8, whatever. That's it
dope.
for me to have. You know what I mean? And then the other comics that I have in the boxes, I don't even really look at them, man. I like to have them. You know what I mean? I like to have them. Maybe one day I'll get rid of them. I'll sell them. I'll pass them down, whatever. My oldest daughter thinks it's corny, but maybe my youngest daughter will love it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I just got that in the mail today.
Yeah, that's dope. And that cover that you just shown, that was the one where they had the multiple variants where you put them together.
Yeah, but this one, the Magneto one, was the one though.
Yeah.
Magneto one was the one. The other ones connected to it. You feel me? Like, yeah, they were like 4 connecting covers, but they all connected to that one.
That one, yep. That's dope. And the thing about comics now is the prices. Oof.
Yeah, the prices are insane, man. I mean, it's hard to get certain variants. Deadpool and Wolverine movie just came out, and they did a Biggie variant, and that off rip was $30.
Yep.
It's off the newsstand. That didn't exist back then. Like a comic, if it was $3.99, it was like this thick, and it was a special
the annuals and everything. Yeah.
Comic. They were all $1, $1.50, $1.25.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That whole shit is new,
yeah.
And it's not something that I'm really crazy about because I don't want to buy like 30 copies of the same comic and shit. But that's just what it is now, man. I only get the shit that I like. I only get the shit that like I really enjoy. If I'm reading something, I'll just wait for the trade and I'll read the trade when it comes out. You know what I mean? But as far as like covers, I'll only get a cover if I think the cover is super fly.
Yeah. That's like I got this comic that I remember from my childhood. Let me open this up real quick for you. Because speaking of, when they were annuals and stuff like that, or specials, they were like $2 and stuff like that. This one was
Oh,
the
nice.
Uncanny
Yeah.
X-Men and the new Titans one. Now this was
Like,
$2, and this is thick.
right.
$2
And that,
nowadays is
and
not
that
going
one
to
was
get you
bigger.
anything.
That one was bigger than the regular comics, right? If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yep.
So yeah, that one costs a little bit more.
Yep.
But more than that, now you didn't see comics more than $2.99,
No.
$3.99, maybe the most. But now they're killing them out there. But that's the business.
Yep. And the thing I learned about the businesses, the reason why your mom and pop stores don't have all the variances, you have to order a certain amount to be able
Right.
to get the other variants.
Right.
And that's what separates them. And that right there, to me, that's foul because the way comic book stores have thrived is off the community.
Yeah.
And it's always been a small comic book store. So now we see less and less comic book stores, and you over here profiting like that off the variants.
Well, yeah, like it's. I mean, I agree with you. I wish it wasn't like that, but at the same time, I understand. It's like the music game. You know what I mean? Um, there's less comic book stores. They're selling less comics, so they got to find a way to make more money. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Uh, us as artists, we're selling less records, physical records, and making less money on streams. So we got to find a way to make money somehow and make it sustainable. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, yeah,
just
that
like
makes sense.
comics, back in the day, an album, an LP, $11.99. You know what I'm saying? Maybe $9.99. Now they don't go down from $30, $40, and that's because they cost so much more to make from the
Mm-hmm.
manufacturer themselves. You know what I mean? Because it all trickles down and shit.
Yep, definitely. Now, one of my favorite tracks from your early career is Vinyl Ashes. And
Okay.
I'm trying to remember what album that was off of. That was they came on Horseback, if I remember.
Yeah, they came on horseback was an album I did with the homie God Illa, uh, out of Eastern Pennsylvania. Man, he reached out to me, and he was an MC. He was a fan. He was like, "Yo, let's do something. Let's work together." He was super cool cat, talented. He was a poet. You know what I mean? So, and it was really easy. And it was like, it was at the time when I was first kind of starting my career. I wasn't even taking rap seriously. Like, I didn't really start to take rap seriously since Picasso, to be honest with you. Before that, I was just fucking around. You know what I mean? I was really just fucking putting shit out just to put shit out. I never really cared about making money or making noise. Like, it's just shit that I wanted to put out. Um, so yeah, when he reached out to me, we put that record together. We linked up. We wrote it in the span of a couple of weeks, just going back and forth on the phone, listening to beats and through email. And then we got together one weekend in Easton, and we recorded it all. We recorded it all.
Nice.
Every feature, everybody came through. I think except Born Unique. Born Unique was not. Born Unique wasn't around at the time. Um, it was Born Unique and Gems wasn't there. Gems wasn't. Gems was in New York. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So those were the only two. Everybody else came through the studio that weekend and shit, and we put that together.
That's
But
dope.
yeah. You went back. You went back on that one, man. That's a very early record. One of my very earliest records.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why it stuck out at the time when it came out is because I'm a big fan of C. Ray's Walls, and he was on that joint.
Yeah, C Ray's. A lot of people don't. I mean, in New York, he's a legend. As far as his underground hip hop shit is concerned, you know what I mean. He came in at a time where underground was still underground.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because there was a time in hip hop where everybody just wanted to make it. Everybody just wanted to blow up. You know what I mean? So everybody eventually made those radio records and eventually tried to sell to a record label and shit like that. C. Ray's came in like the mid to late '90s in New York, and it was an era where independent. It was like the punk rock of fucking hip hop. You know what I mean? Like, it's fuck it. We're gonna be independent and do whatever the fuck we want and sell it ourselves and make bread and say what we want and put the art out that we want and shit.
Yep.
Uh, and he was super talented. I mean, super talented, ridiculously talented. So I mean, I was a fan. I was a fan as a kid, as a young man. I met him when I used to a street team for Ruckus Records back in the late '90s and shit. And you know, I wasn't really spitting back then. I was freestyling and shit, but I wasn't taking this thing seriously. And to link up with him for that record was amazing. It was great to get that feature. It means a lot.
Yeah, dope. I mean, early in your career, have see raised walls in there.
I mean, I was lucky enough. The reason that I even really rap is because I was lucky enough to be around MCs that believed in me, that heard me, got to know me, and were like, "Yo, you need to fucking spit." You know what I mean? From Spit Gems was the first one,
Hmm.
and you already know he's one of the illest. But from
Yes,
Gems
indeed.
to Tragedy to Sean Price to C. Ray's Walls to Vordal from Cannibal Ox, you know, for them to be like, yo, you fucking nice, bro. Like the shit you're saying is nice. You need to fucking put some shit out. That's why I pushed it out. You know what I mean? If they weren't around, they didn't believe in me, I probably would still be fucking around doing dumb shit or just be on my dad shit. You know what I mean? And like
Hmm.
just enjoying hip hop and comics and just not rapping. You know what I mean? Which is great too. But those guys pushed me to do it, and I thank all of them for it.
Salute to them, man. That's dope. You know, how does it just bring us back to that time of someone else seeing that talent and approaching you in that way. How does that feel?
I mean, you gotta understand when that happened, when that first happened, I was at Goblin Music Studio. I was surrounded by fucking talent. You know what I mean? Um, you know, the Beat Nuts record there, Starving B, super talented. Gems was somebody that I was gonna DJ for. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't, as far as rapping, I wasn't thinking about it. You know what I mean? I was on my DJ shit. Like, yo, let me DJ all your shows. You know what I'm saying? I got you. You need scratches? I got you. Whatever. And they're working on a song, and I was just feeling the beat, and I wrote a quick fucking 16, whatever. Pulled Gems to the side. I spit it for him, and he looked at me like, bro, you got to put that on his record. Like that shit's fire. Um, and you know, from then on, it was just me being around him, pushing me, other people hearing me spit, and telling me like, nah, you know, same thing with Sean Price. When I first met Sean Price, he was doing a record for somebody else. He heard me spit, and he was like, I'm gonna do another record with you. Like, I want you on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I came here for somebody else and shit, but we're gonna do a record together and shit. And just shit like that builds up your confidence and and
Mhm.
and, and just kind of tells you like, yeah, you can do this. You know what I mean? You can be part of this. You know what I'm saying? If these people are telling you that they like what you're doing, if anybody else says they don't like it, they're wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because what are
Yep.
you gonna? Am I gonna compare the words of a Spit Gems and a Sean Price and a Tragedy Gaddafi to fucking Joe Schmo on the internet? It doesn't compare. You know what I mean? So that's why nothing else ever bothered me. All that shit rolls right off my back. You know what I mean? Because I already got props from all these people.
That's dope, man. The thing about the way the music is now, you have certain people that will give their flowers to people and do the same, like what was done with you, and then there's others that think that see it as they're actually jealous and afraid of your talent.
Right.
So they're gonna find ways to curb you.
Right. Um, I never believed in that, man. I think there's room for everybody, and I think if you're ill, you're ill. You know what I mean? At the same time, I think if you're whack, you're whack. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat shit.
Hmm.
You know, I'm not gonna sit here and tell people that they're dope just because I want to make relationships and just because I want something from them. You know what I'm saying? I don't react like that. But if you're dope, man. And I want to be around dope people. I want to be associated with ill MCs. You know what I'm saying? So the more ill people that I can get to know and I can share music with and maybe work with, the better. I wouldn't shun anybody away if they're ill. You know what I mean? I don't believe in that. And I'm thankful and grateful that those people that I mentioned before don't believe in that either, because they could have easily seen my talent and be like, nah, stick to DJ. knowing in the back of their minds that they think I'm ill, but nah, that's too much competition. Luckily, these people were like, nah, there is no competition. There's room for all of us. You know what I mean? The more people, the better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you said around the time Picasso came out is when you were taking it more seriously.
Yeah, definitely. Picasso, I couldn't quote you the year. It must have been 2017, 16 or something like that. I linked up with a producer named Curse from
Shout
Canada,
out.
the homie
Yep.
Curse. He hit me up on the internet and was like, "Yo, can I send you some beats?" Which I get hit up all the time. Can I send you beats? And I always say yeah, because there's mad diamonds in the rough. You know what I mean? But these beats just immediately got my pen moving. All of them got my pen moving, and I was writing, and it was around that time that I'm like, I'm getting older. I'm either gonna take this serious or I'm not. I'm either gonna take these words that I did, this art that I created, and actually try to get the most people to listen to it, or I'm gonna stop. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna do it for me to hear. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point? Uh, Before that, it was all fun. It was all fun and games. And if something popped off, then awesome. If people heard it, then great. If not, then fucking whatever. And even though I still make music for myself, um, it's my art, and I would like for people to enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Agreed. Mm. And I gotta give you a big shout out because, and I don't have it with me. I wish I did right now. You had a bundle, dope limited edition bundle with the painting and the vinyl.
Oh yeah. Well, what people don't know about Picasso, I feel like an asshole every time because the homie who painted it for me, it was an original painting. Both of those, Picasso 1 and Picasso Dos, were original paintings. And when we put out the vinyl, uh, I was like, yo, we're gonna put out like an ill vinyl. So it's a clear vinyl. It's part one on one side, part two on the other. And I'm like, this is a piece of art that I have hanging in my house. Like I literally have the original piece in my house. And I'm like, wouldn't it be dope if people could just hang this up on their wall? You know what I mean? So I'm like, listen, this is art at the end of the day. You can hang this up on your wall. So you get a bundle, you get the shirt, you get the CD, you get the vinyl, and you get the frame. You can listen to it, have it up on your wall and shit, and people come and be a conversation piece. You know what I mean? That's why a lot of the records and the comic books that I have, because I have a bunch of vinyl. Some of it is music that I listen to, some of it is classics, but a lot of them are just vinyl that I picked up because I love the cover art. You know what I mean? I'm like, yo, this is fire. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, I want diggers to be looking through Creative Records and stop as Picasso and be like, nah, this is fire. I gotta listen to this just to see what it is. You know what I mean? Uh, Earlier, when I was younger, before I knew about sampling and all that shit, I remember picking up Bob James too, which was, I believe that was the cover with the gold hand holding the apple. And because of that cover, I picked it up and played it and recognized the samples from the hip hop I was listening to. You know what I mean? I want that effect on people. Same thing with Respectfully Eff Yoo. Respectfully Eff Yoo is a take on the Hector Lavoe cover, um, a very popular salsa singer, salsa cover. And I'm like, yo, I remember this record in my house, and in every fucking Spanish household that I ever went to, they had this record. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna remake this cover. Same thing with 14 Karat. 14 Karat, even though the name comes from a Ghostface Killer song, the cover is from a Slick Rick photo shoot. I remember seeing that photo and being like, this is one of the flyest shit I've ever seen. You know what I'm saying? Like, forget who he is and forget his music. Like, this is one of the flyest photos I ever seen. So I'm gonna try to recreate it. Try my best to recreate it because I want people to see it and get that same feeling or that same vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. And each one of your covers are unique. I mean, for instance, Money House Blessings.
Oh yeah, Money House Blessing. Money House Blessing, for people, a lot of people don't know, is a spray. Is a it's like a Febreze in the hood. You know what I'm saying? Like you go to a hood store back in the days, and they would have a spray. Money House Blessing was one of them and shit. And it had like the Indian head on it and shit like
Yep.
that. So yeah, when I named the album Money House Blessing, I looked for that spray and tried to recreate that cover. You know what I mean? And this respectfully, Eff Yoo was the first cover with my actual face on it. Like before that,
Yep.
I didn't put my face on anything, either front or the back. You know, what I mean, Picasso Dos is a painting of me, but it's an abstract Picasso painting of me. You know what I mean? So you can't really tell if it's me or not. Uh, yeah, I was kind of like I don't know. I don't know why I didn't want my face on. It's not that I didn't purposely want it, but you know, I wanted the art and the words to speak for themselves without you
Focus
necessarily
on the
knowing what I
music.
look like. Yeah, exactly.
Ghostface Killer style. That's dope. Mm. Tell us a little bit about the name Eff Yoo. How that all came to be.
An odd, not an odd man, a funny story actually that we're talking about C Ray's Walls. Unknowingly, I got to tell C Ray's this story when I met him. He gave me that name. Uh, so much as back in the days, you would go to an open mic, they'd have a list. You write your name on the list, and the host would grab the list and call the names out. You know what I mean? Until time ran out. So if you were up there on the list, he'd call your name. And I didn't have a rap name. You know what I mean? I used to write on the walls. I used to write Emic, EMIC. But, you know, that wasn't my rap name and shit. So when I would go to these open mics with friends, just fucking around, I would put different silly names on the list just to hear the MC call out these silly names and shit. You know what I mean? It'd be like, I'd write like Dukakis on it, you know, just to hear him fucking read it and say, I'd say dumb shit. I wrote "fuck you" one time, like that was gonna be my name. I'm like, what's more punk rock than naming yourself "fuck you"? You know what I'm saying? Write that on it. And then one day I wrote "F U," thinking I was slick. I wrote it with two O's instead of a Y-O-U. But C Ray's picked up on it. He called me. I went up there. I don't know what the fuck I spit. It was probably retarded. But at the end of the night, C Ray's came up to me and he was like, "Yo, that's one of the illest names. But you got one of the illest rap names. I love that name, bro. That shit is fire, blah, blah, blah." And Sean Price actually reiterated that to me later on in my life when I met him. He's like, "Yo, I love that name. That name's fucking perfect." So, you know, since C Ray's kind of gave me that and kind of was like, "Yo, this is an ill name," and I looked up to him at the time, I was like, "Yeah, I'm sticking with this. Fuck it. Everybody's gonna call me F U." Little did I know later on, people would fucking butcher my name and fucking call me F Yo and fucking Eff Yoo, and like I'm like, son, I don't know what to tell you, man. You know what I mean? Like my name's clearly, or they would write the letters. You know what I mean? Like, but it's all good. It's all good as long as you appreciate the music.
You recognize it, right? Yep.
Right.
That's dope. Now, from all your projects, not just because of your smooth delivery, but on this project, Sunset on Sunset,
Hmm.
you the whole flow of this project was nice, smooth, Cali, laid back style.
Yeah.
How'd you link up with Cole James Cash?
I linked up with Cole James Cash through the homie Lex from Rhyme and Soul.
Ah,
Um, uh, he knew Cole James Cash. I don't know how they met, but uh, Cash asked him, "Hey, look, I want to do a compilation and I want to get some ill MCs on here. You know what I mean? Can you help me out? Is there anybody you know?" And Lex reached out to me and GS, Gems. He reached out to all of us and shit. And I wrote him back. I did a couple records for him on his Street Fighter album. And from then on, we were always like kind of working together, talking, and he would send me beats, and I'd fuck with this one, fuck with that one. There was different things we were gonna do, and it never kind of worked out and shit. And he's from the Bay, he's from the Bay Area. And then I just kind of compiled these songs, and I'm like, "Yo, we're gonna put these out. We're gonna put a little bit of a West Coast flavor on it, kind of an homage to him being from the Bay Area, but I'm gonna put my Queens spin on it. You know what I mean?" And We got some West Coast MCs on it, shit like that, and it came together perfectly. You know what I mean? I think Cold Cash is a slept-on producer. Um, he's actually stopped making hip hop music. He does like house, you know what I mean, like ghetto house, juke, and he's doing his thing over there on that side and shit. But the way he put beats together was so different. You know what I mean? And he would bring me into that process. A few of these beats, you know, were made like with me on the phone, and he was bringing me into the process and showing me the things he was bringing in, like, you know, the sound of a Cali car meet, and you know, taking the strings from, you know, an old 50s record, but then playing the bass and shit. And it was just, I really loved it. And I wish he got more recognition, but you know, like a lot of geniuses, you know what I mean? People sleep on them till it's too late, you know what I mean? And now he's off doing his own thing. I can't hear you.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's all good.
I was saying I still go on SoundCloud like I did in the past, still finding new music and new
Right.
artists. But that is how I began speaking with Cole James Castor, is through
Oh, word.
messaging on SoundCloud.
Nice, nice. And did you see through his projects or before he put out like Street Fighter and
Yeah, it was before Street Fighter.
okay. All
Yep.
right. Yeah, yeah, he's a cool cat, man. Shouts to him. I feel like that record, Sunset on Sunset, was slept on. I mean, it was slept on because it came out at a time where he was stepping away from hip hop. So, you know, the push wasn't really, he was stepping away. At the same time, I was like kind of focused on some on other things and shit like that. Um Shortly after that, I put out Money House Blessing, which I was working on at the same time and shit. So it didn't get the proper push that I feel like it should have. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I got a song on there where I basically rap to the St. Ides beat and shit, to the old Nate Dogg and Warren G
Yeah.
St. Ides beat. I got a record on there with Blue and Mr. Esquire. Um, yeah, I got a record on there with Skyzoo and Lex. And I feel like, you know, though, that I feel like that record was slept on, man, and I'd like to bring it back to light, hopefully.
Yeah, I put that in the link, and you can also see in the bottom banner right now. Definitely go check that out.
Those I do have CDs of still. Those that was one of the last. No, that Money House Blessing were the last two CDs I printed up. Um, and you know they did all right. I sold a few Money House Blessing CDs. Less so Sunset on Sunset.
Hmm.
Might have been a whole kind of West Coast Cali vibe. Kind of killed it for people that were, you know, used to the Picasso shit. You know, it's Picasso flow and shit, and
Right.
they got scared off. But I mean, you've heard the record. You know, it's undoubtedly me. It's
Yeah,
undoubtedly.
it's definitely, yep.
So yeah, those I still have some records of, some CDs. Sorry.
And this is a example of a project that shows how diverse you are. Because, like I was saying, not everybody can still have that type of smooth flow over different type of production tempo like you do.
Thank you, thank you. I want to make every record different. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Picasso and Picasso Dose, and to a degree, Picasso on Lockdown, um, are the three parts of the same record, pretty much. Picasso and Picasso Dose were done back to back. It's just we just kept it going. Picasso on Lockdown was shortly after, but you know, again, it's with Curse, and I was kind of in the same flow. But I want every album to be different, still undoubtedly me, but to still be different, still live in its own place. You know what I mean? You could tell, respectfully, Eff Yoo doesn't sound like 14 Carat. You know what I mean? Doesn't sound like Blocktoberfest. Um, doesn't sound like Picasso. And you know, I want people to have, like, you know, different, like, yo, this guy could do different things, but it's still him. It's still Eff Yoo. You know what I mean? So I want to try to do that going forward.
And we gotta, being that we talking about that project, big shout out to Deep, who handled all the production on there. He definitely did his thing on there.
Yo, Big Deep and Two Hungry Bros is another
Slept
collective.
on
The two producers, uh, uh, Ben
Ben.
and Deep,
Yep.
but Deep was the one who I did respectfully with. He, both of them, they're also underground legends from that era, from that C. Ray's Walls era. Maybe a little bit after him, but in New York, in the underground, kind of boom bap underground scene, the real gritty underground scene. Those guys had a handle on a lot of the early shit that was coming out. You know what I mean? Early dope shit that was coming out. Um, so to link up with him was amazing. I'm not sure how he initially heard of me, but he reached out to me to do a song on his record, what Dad listens to, and I did a song called Warwick Davis, which was basically just about being a little person, which I'm not, but all due respect. I just kind of heard the beat and I'm like, yo, this sounds like a little person playing the piano. I don't know why that I thought of that. I don't know why that came to me when I heard the beat, but I wrote it in like 2 days. I named it Warwick Davis, my favorite little person, and fucking I sent it to him and he was like, yo, this is fucking crazy. Like I love this record. Um, Another slept on record from his album. And he was like, "Yo, let's do a whole thing. Let's do a whole full length." And I was like, "Listen, send me beats, and if we can make enough to make a record, let's do it." And
Mhm.
you know what I mean. And we're actually working on a um,
Nice, nice.
follow up record that's probably coming out early next year. That's done. It's pretty much done. I'm waiting for feature and some mixing and mastering. That'll be ready to go.
That's dope. Yeah. Back in my time of buying a lot of records at Fat Beats when they were open, that's how I got introduced to Two Hungry Brothers and also Homeboy Sandman.
Yeah, yeah. Two Hungry Bros, Homeboy Sandman, Low Deck, and the
Yep.
Johnny 3 crew. Um, Adam's family. You know what I mean? Those guys were, I would say, pioneers in the New York underground. You know what I mean? Along with C. Ray's Walls and Breeze Ever Flowing and that
Whole
clique,
Stronghold crew. Yeah.
Stronghold clique. Adam's family clique. Def Jugs came a little bit shortly after that, but they were around in different factions. Aesop Rock. Uh, you know what I mean? So Thurston, those guys they were basically the beginning of what New York underground was. You know what I mean?
True that. Yep. I got to give a shout out to people in the chat. Um, Definitely one of the dopest producers, Murder Megs, tuning in. Big shout out.
I don't
Still,
even see the chat, man. I want to apologize. I don't see the chat, so I
all
can't. I can't.
right, it's all good. It's
It's
all
all
good.
good though. It's all good. Everybody who's checking in, I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to me, man. A lot
Yeah,
of times I feel like I'm just a fucking rambling madman and shit, but I appreciate the people who listen to me.
that's dope. Shout out to Bad Seed and Old Six Man Entertainment. Uh, that's
Oh,
a fan.
Seed is on the second. Listen, Seed is another one. Yo, the Bad Seed is another New York legend, bro. You know what I mean? Um, Kids love the Seed and this. Yo, son, his records the fact that he's still doing it to the degree that he's doing it makes me feel like I could keep doing it. Because there's a lot of times where I'm like, I'm done with this shit, babe.
Mhm.
I'm getting older. Everyone else is getting younger. You know what I mean? And like, how long can I do this shit? But then I'll get inspired and write some other shit, and then I'll hear a record and write some other shit. Or Gems will call me and be like, "Yo, I need you on this record," and I'm like, "All right, I'm there."
That's
As long
great.
as I still have that, I'll still keep going. But yeah, definitely shout out to the Bad Seed, fucking just being ill for all these fucking years, man. Jesus,
Yeah, yeah. I just interviewed him.
fire.
Yeah. What else we got in here? We got NJ the AK. Man, this is another person. People don't respect what I do. He's another very knowledgeable, to the grain in the veins. Hip hop culture is in him. This man listens to a lot of music. He's come up on, hip hop the same way we have. So big salute to NJ to AK.
Salute, man. Those are the people that I like to talk to the most. You know what I mean? And I don't mean to demean anybody, but I like to talk to people who know what they're talking about and have a wide range of knowledge of music. You know what I mean? And can appreciate different sides. You know what I mean? And we can communicate and talk about different sides, because it's not just the underground that I think is ill. You know what I mean? There's plenty of other people that are fucking dope out there. You know what I mean? And it takes somebody who's knowledgeable in hip hop to be able to say, yeah, there's a lot of shit on the radio that's fire. There's a lot of shit that's garbage. There's a lot of shit in the underground that's fire. And there's some shit in the underground that's garbage. You know what I'm saying? That we're letting slide through.
Yeah.
But if you have that conversation with somebody who's knowledgeable, you can hear both sides. You know what I mean? And you can take both sides and kind of come to an understanding and be like, yeah, I hear what you're saying. When you're talking to somebody who you don't respect that way, or you don't think has that same wealth of knowledge, you kind of take their opinions with a grain of salt.
Very true. Very true. And we also have another dope MC who's on your latest album. Eat a Mad Assassin is up in here too.
He was good, man. Eat a Mad Assassin was good, homie. Yeah, I mean, I obviously I'd been aware of Eat a Mad Assassin for a while. He's been making noise in the scenes for a minute, but I linked up with him at a show in San Diego that he was performing at, and I was performing at, and we linked up, we touched base, and just a fucking another cool dude, man. The best people are just cool people. The most confident people are cool people. When you meet somebody who's an asshole or standoffish, unless it's just their personality, they're most of the time not that confident. But he was a dude who's like, yo, I fuck with your shit. And I was like, yo, vice versa. We exchanged information. And when I was working on 14 Karat, I had gotten this beat from Sherman. Sherman makes beats. Salute to him. And I was like, yo, I hear another MC. And I'm like, who do I hear on this? Whose flow do I hear on this? And I told Sherman about E. And I mean, I was like, yeah, no, that's perfect. I sent it to him. He's like, yeah, I fuck with this immediately. So that worked out perfect, man. He gave me a fire verse, and I love that song, man. It's one of my favorite songs on the album.
That's what's up. Dope. And we got one more up in here. Another dope producer repping Chicago, Agent Smith 78. Peace. Repping Triple Trouble.
I've been in Chicago in a while, man. I don't know, yo, call me, man. Let's book some shows out there. I mean, I've done Cincinnati, I've done Ohio, Chicago a couple times. Shout to my homie Night Walker, he's out there. You know what I mean? But it's been a minute, man. I'd love to go back out there. One of the best sushi spots I've been to is in Chicago, believe it or not. And there's no ocean there, but believe it or not.
Dope. Man. You know what? Since we got Eat a Mad Assassin on here right now, let's talk about the track Slow Burn off the new album.
Yeah. Slow Burn, produced by Sherman. Sherman sent me 2 beats, and this one I immediately started rapping to. And Slow Burn, like Rod Serling words on TV, you know what I mean? And then from that, I came up with, yo, let me find something from Rod Serling. And I came across these cigarette ads that they used to do in the 60s and 50s, where like everyone would just, give props to cigarettes and how healthy and delicious they were and shit like that. I just thought it was funny hearing his voice talk about Chesterfields and fucking smoking and shit like that, and equating it to how now, kind of people smoke weed, because it's the same lingo. You know what I mean? He's talking about, hey, when you take this puff, you're gonna feel great. You know what I mean? And I just took it like, oh, this is perfect. You know what I mean? This is perfect. The song is a slow burn because you gotta listen to it. You gotta listen to everything I'm saying. You gotta listen to everything he's saying. You gotta listen to everything Rod Serling is saying. It's to really pick up on the record. Like, it's fun to just bop your head to it and shit. But when you really listen to it is when you start picking up little intricacies and like, oh shit,
Mm-hmm.
Record is more than just, you know, something fun to bob your head to and shit.
And it's dope how, you know, when Eden Mad Assassin comes in, he starts his verse off using your name.
Yeah. Yeah, that's dope, man. That's yeah, man. His verse, as soon as he sent it, I'm like, yeah, this works perfect. You know what I mean? I had absolutely no qualms about the verse. It's classic Eden Mad Assassin and shit. And I'm like, yeah, perfect. You know what I mean? It's a way, um, you know, not to sound any way about it, but I think it's a perfect way for maybe people who are a fan of mine who aren't familiar with E to become familiar with E, and hopefully people who are not familiar with me but are fans of his to maybe hear this song or hear me on his album, which,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I definitely did. He asked me to return the favor, and I did right away. So I'm gonna be on his next record and shit.
Nice.
Assuming that's the next record. I don't know, because, you know, like I said earlier, like we all line up records ahead of time. 'Cause you got to kind of drop consistently. Um, so the albums become a little shorter, and the records come out faster. You know what I mean? But I still take my time with them because I like to fucking I like to put some shit out and listen to it a bunch of times, fix things, change things. You know what I mean? Oh, I didn't like this. Let me rewrite that. You know what I mean? So, but I'm backlogged right now, including 14 Carat. I'm like 4 records backlogged.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Finished and ready to go, including the deep one, including another one with Rob Victim, including Ribs 2, Rikers Island Boxing School 2. Um, and then I'm working on another one with the homie Kelsey. Uh, so like I'm you know, until I'm done, until I'm done with things to say, and until people don't listen anymore, you know, I'm gonna keep going. But every time I'm like getting closer to like, all right, I'm good. I've said what I needed to say.
That's dope. We spoke about the album cover for 14 Gold Slum Computer Wizard. And let's talk about the name.
Yeah. 14 Karat Gold Slum Computer Wizard. It's a line from Ghostface Killer off of damn, I'm horrible with titles and remembering names and remembering titles and records. Um, but it was from the Cuban Links album with him and Nas, with Raekwon, Ghostface, and Nas. Um, and yeah, he says some wild shit. You know, even like listening to Ghostface interviews where he's like, "Yo, I just say shit and it's art." You know, like I know what the fuck I'm saying. You don't have to know what I'm saying. But I remember that line so vividly, would stick out in my head and shit. And one of my earlier records that I put out on the mixtape with Spit Gems and AG the Coroner was called Wizard's Cookbook. So I'm kind of like bringing it back full circle. You know what I mean, to this with that title. Um, and that's pretty much it, man. I always wanted to use that for a title. I always just thought it was ill.
Got you. When it comes to your projects like this, again, like you said, none of them sound the same. They all have their distinct style and content, the way you want it put out there. But with the new one, I notice there's not a lot of up tempo
Mm,
on this one, like some of your previous projects.
right.
So when you came with this and understanding more of, as you're explaining about the new album, was there a certain approach to you wanted to be that way when you were selecting the production?
Um, no, I think that this record came about just the way it came about. Like it was really these beats were sent to me. I worked on them, and I was like, this is going for the album. You know what I mean? Because this album, except for except for Money House Blessing, all my albums have been with one producer. Money House Blessing was with different producers, and it worked the same way. This one was with different producers, and it worked that way. Where I would get the beat, I'd come up with the concept, I'd write the lyrics, and I'm like, all right, this is for this album. You know what I mean? Because I'm working on an album with Rob Victim. All those are for the Rob Victim album. Even though he produced Brass Knuckle Sandwich on this album. And I had to fucking pry that away from him and shit because he wanted that for our album. And I'm like, nah, I need this album and shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, every beat just came to me. The idea came. I started writing, and I'm like, this is for that. And it just so happened to be that flow. And I think it's because I was just in that mindset, in that frame of mind. You know what I mean? That the beats that happened to come to me were all in the same kind of flow. You know what I mean? Slower tempo, you know, but I mean, I pick it back up. You know, we got a record on the new Deep album that's more up tempo, definitely on the Ribs album. You know what I mean? It's not that I'm shying away from that. It's just that I guess I was just in that mindset for this
That's
album.
the way it was. Yeah,
right.
I get it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now I want to let the people know about the visuals, but I want you to talk about this track first. Humdinger, featuring Homeboy Sandman.
Oh, Humdinger. Humdinger was produced by the homie Mike Martinez, and it was probably one of the earlier. He also produced 96 Clue Freestyle, and just like 96 Clue Freestyle, when he sent me that beat, that's just immediately what I thought. Like that was the concept first. Mm-hmm. Like this sounds like this beat was made for the Locks or for a Clue mixtape in fucking 96. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I kind of approached it that way. That's kind of why it sounds a little bit like it doesn't belong on the album as far as sound wise. You know what I mean? There's that hiss, there's that tape hiss. It's mixed a little differently because I wanted it to sound like that. And then Humdinger, the same way when he sent me that record, I heard, first of all, I heard Homeboy Sandman on it. And I was like, if I don't use it, you should send it to him and shit. But I started writing to it right away. So I'm like, all right, now you can't send it to him because now I'm writing to it. But then I'm like, I could send it to him and ask him to be on it. And the beat just kind of felt melancholy. You know what I mean? I was going to call it like Melancholia at first. I was going to call it, you know, even superheroes get melancholy. But it's not sad. You know what I'm saying? Like the lyrics aren't sad. It's just kind of reflective, you know, reflective on where I am, where I want to be. You know, I talk about moving south, and it's just where I really am. You know, I'll always love New York and shit, but like as I'm getting older and as I'm raising another kid, you know, my youngest is 2.5 now. You know, I want to go somewhere with more land. You know what I mean? I want to go somewhere with more space, especially since the internet has made hip hop so small and so together. I can be somewhere. I can be in fucking Denver, you know, and record and shit and still link up with people and shit like that. So I want to kind of spread my wings a little bit. So I wanted to talk about that. You know, when I say shit, you know, I'd rather listen to Black Hole Sun than some asshole son rapping about back jumps. It's kind of where I am right now. You know what I mean? And not to say that, you know, I might not fucking talk about bagging jumps because something that I did, but I do it because I'm talking about something that I did. You know what I mean? And it's not to put negative on anybody, but just kind of where I was at the moment. You know what I mean? And and in the video, I always pictured like kind of an animated video to it. But I didn't want it to be some like cheesy, some fucking South Park shit. You know what I mean? So when the homie 10th Dan reached out to me, I was like, look, if you can make some shit that like is kind of reminiscent of Adult Swim at fucking 1 a.m, you know, after you fucking smoked 2 bowls and you're kind of ready for bed, you ate a whole pizza and you're fucking comatose. If you can make some shit reminiscent of that, you know, let's do it. He sent me this. And I was like, oh, this is perfect, bro. This is great. It's funny. It's serious, you know, and it's trippy, you know, at the same time and shit. So it's right up my alley.
So let's get into it.
Germany. Good day, ladies, another Homo sapiens. Tap the mic like Savion. The glove don't fit exactly the way that they say he placed it on. That's why I stay away from the wave that they be on. If this amazing, wait until you pay for Patreon. My paper made them pave the ways and pay dues, but never ever got my late fee on. I ain't in the player guard, but what a player gotta do to drop it through your thick cranium. Smoother than Andre 3000 flew, moving like Audi 5000s do. If I fly the coupe, I move 1,000 miles due south to Port St. Lucie and smoke a Lucy while drowning in Mountain Dew. I'd rather listen to Black Hole Sun than some asshole son rap about he used to back drums and pack guns running through the backyards and tobacco slum. Save it for the pastor after mass on Passover Sunday, and maybe someday we'll laugh about our past over past old drums and past old puns.
Old man Herod drove a Volkswagen Beetle. Somehow regal is not legal. I got no equal, but I'm trying to find my people. Dependables, the ones that look around and don't find most of it acceptable. Except it's all acceptable in the sense that it's godly. So when I lose my way to the type of friends that remind me. Nowadays it's little that surprised me. I don't hardly use the terms unusual or oddly. I'm big on loops and loose tethers. I'm all grown, I shake groups and goose feathers. But there are ties that I can't sever. Like sinking in a real mess from thinking that I'm real clever. Me and Dottie been looking at different places. Real estate agents are often racist. Their loss, not ours. And me and God are mad tight, so please don't send me links to the watchtower. I don't read them, delete them, I don't need them. But people tell me I should join them if I can't beat them. Beat them? I'm trying to get to where I can't lead them. I'm trying to enjoy freedom. I write a joint and spill an ink or losing strength with every point that I defend. If first you don't succeed, try again. Yep.
I think this is a record reminiscent of where I am in my life. You know what I mean? Same thing with Sandman and just kind of growing up and shit, getting older. You still make dope records, and you can still, remind people that if you need a smack, you can get a smack and shit at the same time. But I feel like I'm trying to do more things and speak about more things. Another track on the album is called "Hard Times Make Hard Men," and that was kind of also, listen, I'm getting older, I'm reminiscing on my life and the dumb shit I've done, and how I've been lucky enough to raise 2 daughters, and hopefully I've taught them the best that I could and done the best that I could, you know what I mean, to make them better humans and shit. And that's just stuff that is coming out through my raps now as I'm getting older, and as again I'm raising another child and shit, and owning a home and paying mortgage and cutting the lawn and fucking finding time to still go to shows and do shows, and you know what I mean, all that stuff is just changing what I'm rapping about, you know what I mean? Right. Not that obviously I can still rap about, sitting on a luxurious couch, smoking cigars and fucking $1,000 loafers, because all that is also very true. But it's just other things that I'm coming to my mind when I'm writing a record now. You know what I mean?
And I don't think enough people make that attempt to even speak of their growth and maturity in their music as they're actually going through it.
Right.
They have that narrow-minded mindset of, this is how I came into the game, this is how I was rhyming, that's how I'm going to continue to do year after year, decade after decade. It's not always going to work that way.
I mean, I think there's people who definitely do that, and there's people who are definitely like, yo, I'm gonna just stick to what's been working, and all that shit is commendable. There's definitely people who have done it, who've gone that route and have been clowned for it. You know what I mean? But again, the luxury I have is that I make records for myself, and because I got to get the shit out, and I'm lucky enough that people enjoy listening to it and enjoy the shit that I'm saying and shit. So whatever mood I may be in at the time, you know what I mean? If I may be in the mood to reminisce about old crimes, then that's just what I'm going to write about. And if I'm in the mood to, talk about my nieces and nephews and babies growing up, and that's what I'm going to do now and shit. And if, I want to write a rap about, how much my interest rate is, then that's what I'm going to do.
It's all in the delivery.
Yeah, thankfully. I mean, you know, it was a long time where especially early on, I didn't pay much attention to flow and delivery. And it wasn't because I couldn't or because I didn't respect it. It was because I wanted to say the most with the space that I had. You know what I mean? So, you know, in a bar, I wanted to say the most things and use the most words to get my point across. And you know, sometimes that made my flow choppy. You know what I mean? A lot of people early on were like, "Yo, you kind of spit a little bit like LP and shit like that," and you know, you have like this choppy flow and shit like that. And it wasn't by design. It was just like I was just trying to say a lot. And I guess it was because I got such a late start. Um, that now I'm just trying to say everything. You know what I mean? And flex as much as I could and use as much of my vocabulary as I can. And whereas now I'm kind of like laid back and sitting back a little bit more, um, and still doing that, but you know, finding my flow and my rhythm more so now than before.
When you listen to yourself on your songs now, when it comes to what you were just talking about, are there any particular moments in past projects where you think to yourself, I could have did this a little bit better?
Oh, definitely, all the time,
Hmm.
all the time, because I feel like I'm always growing. I'm always getting better. I'm always trying to get better. Uh, I'm always trying to be around better people, better rappers, better thinkers. So they make me kind of reflect on my older stuff, what I said, how I said it. I mean, definitely, eh, even with my oldest daughter, you know, she's 21 now, but you know, throughout her growing up, I was definitely an I don't give a fuck type of person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't give a fuck what you think, how I said something. You can't beat me up, then I win every time. I can say whatever the fuck I want. You know what I'm saying? If not, let's fight. Like it was a very bad attitude that I had, you know. And I say growing up, but I mean into my 30s, well into my 30s. I didn't give a fuck about going to jail, doing dumb shit. And it's just now reminiscing, looking back, like, yo, that was dumb. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, some of the shit you're saying is crazy. Some of the shit that you're admitting to on records is nuts. Some of the words you're using are crazy. You know what I mean? And I don't take it back. I don't regret anything because it's where I was at the time, and it's something that I meant every single time. Uh, Something that was real, that really happened, that I really went through, a true story or a way that I really felt. So I don't regret it, but I could have done it better. Yeah, definitely every time, even up until this record. I'm sure I can listen to records from 14 Karat, even though it's new and I love every record on it. You
Mhm.
know, in a couple of weeks, I'm sure I'm gonna go back and be like, could have landed that one better. Could have landed that one better. And, you know, I try, and luckily I have really talented friends I could bounce ideas off of. Spit Jams A1, Sandman when I sent them that verse, GS Advance. You know, I'm lucky that I could send them these records and they can be honest with me and tell me like, yo, you could do this one better, or like, oh, this one would be better that way. And sometimes I won't listen, and sometimes I will. You know what I mean? But of course, I think if you're a student of this craft, you should always be a student, and you should always feel like you can do better.
Very true. Very true. Mm. Speaking of other spitters who I feel that continue to hone their craft, um, GS Advance, who just dropped an album today, Lycanthropy, and
Yeah.
also Just P on that the track 3 Ronin.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was an amazing record, man. You know, GS Advance I've been rocking with for a long time. Just P2. You know, those are just again, they're not only dope MCs. GS is somebody I look up to as a person, as a scholar, as a family man, and as an MC. You know what I mean? I respect his craft tremendously. Um, and his production skill. He produced that record. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It, Three Ronin was the last record on the album because we had done this record previously to freestyle. To we had done it to a beat, I think it was a
Okay.
Wu-Tang beat. And I'm like, yo, let's do this to a beat, but I need you to produce the beat. And he produced the beat in a day. I think he sent it to me with his verse and Just P's verse on it. You know what I mean? And then I took my original verse and chefed it up a little bit to fit this beat. And it's kind of like it's the way we've always worked. You know what I mean? We've always just gone together, and it's been real easy working with those guys. But yeah, GS just dropped Lycanthropy. GS is another guy who puts out records and he puts a lot of thought behind them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he wants every project to be a fucking adventure. You know what I mean? And they all have their theme, and yeah, this one's no different. You know what I mean? I'm glad to be on it myself. I can't be just P keeps putting shit out. You know, P just put out Project in New York with Bo Fat. He's just nonstop. You know, ever since he got on his grind and was like, "Yo, I'm coming back. I'm putting my boots on and stomping a mud hole in the industry's ass and shit." He's been consistent. Gems just dropped Knife Work, another incredible project. You know, Gems he doesn't miss. You know what I mean? They're always 3-pointers. You know what I mean? Every time, and this one's no different. Knife Work's amazing. And A1 just dropped
Yep.
a record after a while. You know, he's been working on this record for a long time, and me and James have been busting his ball as well as other people. Like, yo, son, put this shit out already. You know what I mean? And he was just waiting for the right moment. And he's another guy who was like, no, it needs to be perfect. And he finally found it. And for my next trick is out too. I don't think that's even out on streamers. And for my next trick and Knife Work are only available through Gems and A1.
Yep,
And
that's it.
Carrot was only available through me for about a month. And you know that's a recipe that I saw working for a few people, and I'm like, look, if people like what I do, let me give it to them first. I'll give it to them with a bonus track and shit, and my utmost appreciation, and then put it out on streamers after that.
Definitely, yeah. I think it's a great formula for any artist right now, especially with the way all the streaming way it is. You want to support your favorite artists, buy direct. It's beneficial to all of you more than any corporation, and that's the way it should be.
And it helps us make more records. You know what I mean? Because we're not backed by anybody. You know what I mean? We're making back what we spent and then putting the rest into the next record. So like everything I made on 14 Karat went back to what I paid to make it, and it's going into the next project. You know what I mean? Undoubtedly. Because like I said before, I make my money in different ways and shit. You know what I mean? So everything I do with music, I do because I want to, and I put it right back into the music.
Now, being this is your first project with different producers on there, like some that we mentioned earlier, what I was wondering is, coming into creating 14 Karat Gold Slum Computer Wizard, was there any other producers that you work with that were not on this project?
I mean, obviously Deep, but we also were working on our follow-up at the same time. You know what I mean? Like I said with Rob Victim, that the record that made it on the record was supposed to be on ours, so he wouldn't have been on this. But I had to fucking pry that away from him and shit. Kelsey, me and Kelsey linked up when this record was already done. You know what I mean? So we couldn't do nothing on the record. But I mean, people like Wavy the God, I've been wanting to work with for a while. We just didn't have a chance to link up. We finally did. Sherman, same thing. You know what I mean? I wanted to link up with him for a while. We finally did for this record. True Cypher. True Cypher is actually a dope duo that.
Yep.
If you cop the record from me, I sent you a bonus record on a True Cypher beat. The reason it's a bonus record and wasn't on the album was because I wound up using parts of those verses for another record. So I'm like, all right, I have to scrap this whole record and shit. But, that song itself, I still sent out to people and shit. So they made it on the album, but they didn't. You know what I mean? I still fuck with them, but I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people. Level 13. Shouts to Level 13. Uh, it's a lot of producers that I respect and I work with, and that I want to work with. That
Dope
maybe.
project right there.
Oh, thank you, man. Blocktoberfest. If you didn't cop the vinyl is square. It's a square, 7-inch 45. I still have a few of these and shit. It's a gray clear record and shit. It's a block, it's called Blocktoberfest. It's only 4 songs. But yeah, that's another thing where when I was thinking about putting it out, I'm like, we're gonna put out a 45, which is a smaller record, but I don't want it to just be a dub plate. I don't want it to just be a black 45. You know what I mean? So let's cut it square. Let's make it smoke gray, clear, some shit that people be fly. The homie Peck You bless the cover. You know what I mean? And the labels. And we were supposed to put out a beer with it, but that fell through last minute, man. The beer deal. So it would have been a Blocktober beer with it, but
right in this month too. That would have been perfect.
Exactly.
Oh man, that's dope. What was I gonna ask you? Oh, No Hawkeye. I mean, he handled production and he did some engineering. Did the engineering for the new album as well.
Yeah, No Hawkeye. We had been working on Rikers Island Boxing School 2. And he was engineering and mixing that one down for us and shit at the time. And just like every record, man, we're like piecing it. We want it to be perfect. You know what I mean? So it's like we want the record to be exactly what we want to put out and shit. And no filler at all. You know what I mean? And so during that time, I was finishing up 14 Karat, and I needed somebody to mix it down and master it, and I needed another track. I knew I wanted to do a track with A and Gems on it, like always. So he wound up sending me that beat, and that was around the time where Drake and Kendrick feud was really firing up and shit like that. And I was like, I wonder if anybody would ever fix their face to fucking write a diss record to any one of us and shit. Let's pretend. Let's just pretend. Just warn people and shit. Like, if you ever thought that you shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? And that's how that record came about and shit. Originally titled Fair Warning, but then I wound up titling it If the Maury Fits. If the Maury fits, wear it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you feel like this is towards you, then maybe it is. You know what I mean? It's really not towards anybody. It's really towards everybody.
Everybody. Definitely. And being that we're speaking about No Hawkeye, go check out the latest interview, episode 18, The Jewel Exchange with Spit Gems and No Hawkeye on there.
Oh yeah, Gems' show, the Jewel Exchange. It's not a podcast, it's not a show, it's conversations, but they're dope conversations, they're deep conversations. You really get to know the people a lot on there. And the latest one is with No Hawkeye and shit. And it's super interesting cat, super humble, you know what I mean? And very knowledgeable about the intricacies that go into the music, you know what I mean? Frequencies and the fucking exact levels that I don't think about, you know what I mean? I always say to him and to everybody, like, yo, I'm an artist. I just want to make art, bro. I don't fucking want to know about sales and fucking how many, color matching on the records and how many this and how much that. Like, that's not me, B. Like, I just want to make art. You know what I'm saying? Let me just be an artist. And luckily, he's the kind of guy who loves the art so much. He's like, let me, you know what I mean? Let me worry about that. Just record the best clear you can, and I'll fucking make it sound fire. And he did. Shouts to No Hawkeye.
Dope. Mm-hmm. Tell us, I like to ask this once in a while. Tell us a story in the creation of your new album that we might not know about.
Story in the creation of this album, like something that came about while I was making this album. This album, for a long time, besides Rikers Island Boxing School 2 was going to be my last record. And I don't say that for any type of sympathy or for any type of like, no, don't leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just I was getting to a point in my life where I felt like I've said what I had to say. I felt like I'm not outside as much. You know what I'm saying? I'm not making as much noise. I'm maybe not getting as much feedback as I used to and shit like that. And it's totally fine. I wasn't bitter or sad about it. And maybe it was time to move into another stage of this music shit and maybe start mentoring some younger artists, maybe managing some artists, maybe getting a show of my own, you know what I mean? And just moving to another stage. So yeah, that a lot of people didn't know that for a long time. I was like, this is it. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? I'm done. This record and Ribs is gonna be the last music I put out unless one of my homies asks for a feature. You know what I mean? Besides that, I'm not gonna put out no more albums. But then Deep Deep hit me with some beats and I started writing to them shits immediately. And I'm like, nah, this is the follow-up. Like now we gotta do this one. At the same time, I showed up to a cypher with Kelsey and did a cypher with him and linked up with him and he started sending me beats. And the shit that I started spitting to his beats was so different from what I've done. They were a lot more reflective, a lot more grown up. And I'm like, all right, if I'm gonna leave, you know what I mean? Let me do this record. Let me do this, this record talking about where I am in life now and how I feel now and my thoughts on mortality and possibly dying and leaving something to my kids and my family. So I'm like, all right, let's make this one. And at the same time, the Rob Victim album we had done it and kind of like not finished. So we were like, all right, let's put this. So, every time it's like fucking Don Corleone says in Godfather 3, whenever I'm out, they pull me back in. I got pulled back in, man. So like I said, if I keep getting inspired and keep doing shit and people keep liking it, I'll probably keep doing it. But yeah, that's one thing I didn't tell a lot of people. Only my close, only like 4 or 5 people knew that I'm like, after this, I'm done. I'm not gonna make an announcement. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna tell people this is my last album. Woe is me. I don't rock that way. You know that, man. So it's like I only told 4 or 5 people, my closest friends, and some of them were like, yeah, okay, no doubt. You know what I mean? It's time. And some of them were like, are you fucking kidding me? Just P and GS were like, are you nuts, bro? There's no way we're going to let you leave, man. It's not happening. So here we are, 4 more records.
There it is. Now, I'm a fan of stuffed peppers. Now, I know there's a Peruvian one with correct me if I'm saying it wrong. Rocoto Riano.
Oh yeah. Rocoto is a spicy pepper.
It's a spicy one, yeah.
Not like stuffed pepper, like a green pepper. You can't just eat the rocoto stuffed and think you're gonna have a nice day.
Yeah, you got cut them
spicy, b. You know what I'm saying? I prefer a papa rellena, which is a stuffed potato. But yeah, definitely. I'm a big foodie, man. I'm a big foodie. I have a song called Smorgasbord on Money House Blessing, which I'm just talking about all the different foods that I like and shit. But top of my list, I mean, I might be being biased. It's Peruvian food. You know what I'm saying? So on top of a lot of lists.
Yeah. Now, when I had this, because I've been vegan now for over 8 years.
Okay.
So the first time I had it was I was younger. I was like a teenager when I had it, and then a friend of mine later on in my life, I had it, and I was telling him, I was like, I don't eat beef anymore.
Right, because it's stuff with beef.
Yeah, and then his mom made it, without the beef, and she chefed that up because it was still good.
Yeah, there's nothing like home cooked meal, man. Mama's home cooked meal or grandma's home cooked meal, man. There's nothing like it. You can go to any restaurant in the world and shit, man. You always come back to to something Mama made, man. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. What's one of your go-to foods?
One of my go-to foods in general.
Yeah.
I'm a big sushi guy, man. I'm a big sushi guy. I like going to omakases, you know, where like you just pay one fee and the chef just gives you whatever he chefs up. Big fan of that. Big steakhouse guy, you know what I mean? I like prime, I like Peter Luger's, you know, some like aged beef, you know, shit like that. You know, Peruvian food, all kinds, Peruvian food, Colombian food. Uh I like Indian food. I'm telling you, man, I'm a foodie, B. I like all kinds of food. You know what I mean? You probably can't find something that I can't sit down in any restaurant and not like something. I'm gonna pick out some shit that I like. But unlike you, all due respect, I'm a carnivore. You know what I mean? So everything's gotta have some sort of animal based protein in it and shit.
Yeah.
That's just my taste.
Got you. All good. I'm gonna show you an album real quick, and I want tell me what comes to mind first. Let's see, I got this real quick.
Let's see what this is. What if I don't know this record? What if you pull it out and I'm like, I've never heard of this record in my life?
Nah, I'm sure you heard of it.
You'd be surprised, man. I've ran into people who I try to talk to classic records about, and they're like, nah, I never heard it.
Now I can't find it. Oh, there it is. And I did this on purpose because of the album that's out.
Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah. That is Willie Colon, man. That's Willie Colon, I guess, was one of the people who started salsa music. You know, a lot of people will tell you that that's not true, but salsa music was invented in the 70s in New York City, not anywhere else. You know what I mean? Not anywhere else. There's other music that sounded like it that salsa took from, you know, salsa took from all different types of Spanish genres, put it together. That's why they call it salsa. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Fucking mix. But yeah, it was started by Fania in the 70s, and Willie Colon was a big part of it. And that was a record that, at least in my household, and a lot of Spanish households I went to, it was prevalent. When I first put out respectfully Eff Yoo, it was a different album cover. It was a Hector Lavoe album. And then when Gems put out Knife Work, you know what I mean? He took from Willie Colon, that album right there. It's just something that, you know, it means a lot in Spanish households and shit like that. And don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? In a lot of black households, I would see Willie Colon, because even though salsa came out in the 70s and it was kind of club music. So, you know, if you were a young person of any ethnicity and you were going out to the clubs, chances were you were going to hear a salsa record mixed in with so, you know what I mean? Mixed in with some, you know, funk and shit like that in the clubs and shit. So, you know, it was around. It's a record that means a lot to me.
Dope. Man, I appreciate you know, taking the time to definitely dive in with me. And again, I like to call this a conversation, not really an interview. So keep it that way and not just always just talk about the music, but other aspects of life as well.
For sure, man. And I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. You know, I don't really do a lot of interviews. I don't really do a lot of shows, and it's not for lack of wanting, but you know, like I said, I put the art out there to speak for itself. You know what I mean? I don't put myself out there as much because I want the work to speak for itself. I want people to enjoy the work and shit. And you know, me, I'm what you get. What you hear on the records is me. You've met me. You know what I'm like. I'm sitting here. I'm smoking a cigar. I'm not smoking a cigar to try to be fucking cool and shit. You know, I'm doing it because I smoke cigars. And,
like,
you know, I'm in my basement or in my house. I'm talking to a friend and I'm smoking a cigar. You know what I mean? That's just how I am. So I appreciate when people reach out and try to kind of learn more about what I'm doing. So thank you. And thank everybody who tuned in and wrote on the chat.
Absolutely. Definitely. And we did have one more person come through. That's Coop. Very dope artist. Visuals as well is what I mean by artist. He's done some work with the Southern Vanguard radio people, John Doe, Eddie Meeks. So
salute to Southern Vanguard. Yo, Southern Vanguard is another a necessary show, man. And again, man, I wish there was more reverence for those type of shows, especially them being out in Georgia and Atlanta. You know, I just wish that the scene would come together more, you know what I mean, and kind of pay more homage to them and show more respect to them. I definitely do. I thank you guys for playing the record. And I thank all the visual artists. You know, a lot of my music and a lot of the way I am comes from not only the music that I've listened to and the books that I've read and the streets I came up with, but, you know, art, you know what I mean? Graffiti, you know what I mean? I try to fill my house with different types of art that I like, you know what I mean? And types of visual things. So, you know, I got to definitely show respect to the artists as well. The painters, the writers.
Respect, man. Now, before we go, as always, the floor is yours to let everyone know where they can reach out to you as well as support.
Well, I mean, my name is Eff Yoo. In case you didn't know, it's spelled EFFYOO. And if you put that up in any type of search engine or social media platform, you know, my fucking wonderful Peruvian face should pop up. And then you can click on it, hit me up. You can purchase any piece of art from me, digital, physical, you know, reach out for interviews or anything like that. On social media, I'm probably mostly active on Instagram. I'm you know, I'm 40 years old, so, you know, I'm kind of reaching into TikTok a little bit, you know what I mean? Letting go of Facebook and shit. But you can reach out to me on I'm on all that. So I'll definitely get your message. And yeah, type it into YouTube and type it into Apple Music and Spotify. Take a listen. Hopefully you like what you hear. And just make sure you spell it right. EFFYOO.
There it is. And the album, 14 Karat Gold Slum Computer Wizard, is out now. Talk directly to this man. You want that vinyl?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I was lucky enough to sell almost all of them. So I do have, they're not in yet, but they're mostly sold out. I got about 10 copies left, 10 or 15 copies, depending on, you know, I'm going to give some out for free to some of the people that helped me make it. So, you know, depending on that, hit me up and, you know, help me sell them out and help me make the next record. You know what I'm saying?
There it is. There it is.
All right, man. Thank you, man. It's been a pleasure talking to you, brother.
You're welcome. I appreciate it. On behalf of our HHDG Media crew, we're going to say peace.
Peace.